Welcome to Mordheim, city of the damned.
Have you ever heard of Mordheim? No? What? Then how did you find... Well, you have now, and I'm gonna talk about it. What is Mordheim? It is a turn-based strategy game that is about warbands taking to a destroyed city to claim all the valuable wordstone that has crash-landed and destroyed the place. You take turns based on your initiative stat to run, climb, leap, attack, defend, and most importantly, loot. Why would you do all of this? Why are you there? Well, there's many reasons, and it's all tied to each faction. Starting with mercenaries, humans, who are there to make money off the very elusive wordstone. Sisters of Sigmar, humans as well, who think this meteor was a punishment and wish to hide all of the stone they can get away so no one can use it. Witch hunters, who want to root out and punish evil, as they do.
I am the comet! I burn the impure!
And on the evil side, we have chaos, humans, who believe they owe it to their lords as tribute to receive blessings, like extra arms, or even extra faces, or a million eyes. Undead, previous humans who are there for more power, or are there just to serve the lords that have brought them back from the dead. And finally, rats, who are there to steal the stone for exchange for power or money, and also to inject or even snort the stone to see what all kinds of crazy wacky things that'll happen. And at the end of the day, all of these lovely warbands have the same goal: to grab as much wordstone and loot as they can and crush any enemies that stand in their way, including their own, just to give to their benefactor and make sure they pay off the wordstone debt on time. And it's important that it's on time. So those are the 6 lovely factions to pick from. But who are they really? Each warband not only has their own specific units, but have very specific trained abilities that only they can obtain. And there are a lot of skills to look and decide on, though there are concerns involved in training these troops. And the most important thing to keep note of when out on these lovely streets: what kind of loot your warband is willing to use. Not all like the same weapons. You will find that the sisters are quite happy to smash faces with hammers and flails, though they look down on the use of ranged weaponry. They do cast ranged spells, but that isn't ranged, it's just kisses from Sigmar. The rats are very specific and will not use anything blunt, and also no axes. They do not want to be Vikings. They are stealthy, sneaky boys, though they will use maces, which is perfect because that extra hit chance is exactly what they need with those horribly low melee stat caps. They all have their own perks, or just be mercenaries and just use about everything you can get your grubby hands on. So back to what really matters. Lots of bodies to throw at our problems. Starting out, you are going to have a warband that is level 0. They gain experience per mission depending on a victory, loss, or decisive victory. This will allow you to level all the way to 10. As your warband levels, you will gain access to more and more team slots to take on missions, as well as slots to bench your heroes in need of healing or training. You also gain access to more troops to hire and better loot on missions and in the shop. Not forgetting more slots to put the loot you stole during the mission, which I have never managed to fill up, so go crazy with the stashing loot if you have the time. You get a few specific roles that can only be filled by specific units. You have leaders, who are typically your most proficient character with the most stats and abilities to learn. You can only have one leader on the field at a time, hence, leader. Next are heroes, who you can have up to 4 per mission, though only 2 of each hero type, no 4 stack of one type. Trust me, I've tried. They are near identical to leaders except for one less strategic point and no abilities to demand other heroes to attack or flee when it isn't their turn. Lastly, we have the faithful henchmen, who are your weakest units, but don't be fooled. They can hold up against the best of them until help arrives. Or just be the greatest meat wall you have ever seen so you can fight elsewhere. Just don't expect too much from them. You aren't paying them enough, and they still love and respect you. And that is worth its weight in gold. And each of those little stout-hearted warriors have a lot of stats to fill out. We got 3 major stat blocks. Physical, which is your ability to fight, loot, and dodge choices. Or your physical ability on the field. Next is mental, which is your ability to think on the field, so you can act faster with initiative through alertness. Bring the team's morale up and refuse to flee from danger with leadership, or avoid stunts and stupidity with some intelligence. Also, you can do more damage with spells. But who wants to cast when you can smash your opponents with a hammer? Lastly, we have the martial skill. These are for your accuracy on the field with ranged or melee attacks. Also, an actual accuracy stat that is anything but that. You thought it would make you hit more often? It actually gives you more chance to crit, which is nice, but a crit is no good when you aren't hitting that target. So don't be wasting points until you can be sure you are hitting often if you want to live. And it's not all troops, gold, and going on missions. There are actual stats that you can build up as you play the game more and more. And lose control of your life because the streets of Mordheim always call to you and you can't refuse the dice that betrayed you once again. And you can't hit the 95% swing because of course you missed again, Waldo, you absolute dunce! So what those stats really are veteran skills, which transfer between warbands and give you amazing benefits to help your team out to save you money, give you extra turns before you have to turn in your wordstone, and even have chances to get free stuff each week. Though all skills have equal costs to train, some are more equal than others that you should choose first because we all like more time to get more loot. And our characters themselves can learn skills as they level, given that you have the points for it, and also the gold. Always the gold. Characters that are heroes or leaders will get up to 30 skill points to spend, with henchmen ending with 14 skills. Also, being unable to learn mastered skills is what makes henchmen cheaper and quicker to train, but with much less potency. Now skills are costed at 2 of your points for a basic skill and 4 extra to master each skill, giving you 5 mastered skills on a hero or leader if you want only mastered skills. So what would you pick? Well, you have the great selection of active or passive skills and are limited to a total of 5 of each. Of course, not focusing on mostly passive skills is a strategy if you like wasting money. However, we are better than that, and we will learn more of those so we can see the effects in more parts of our game. So we have all these stats on the lovely left side of our screen that we haven't talked about. They're not that important, but we should probably talk about them anyway. Starting with Strength, giving you a 3% more melee damage and reduces your opponent's chance to parry you by 2% in melee. Also, every 3 points into this stat will give you the best ability in the game, Loot Capacity. Following it up, we have Toughness, gives us 2% more health per level. Also, a 1% range resistance, 3% poison resist. We're going to say resist from now on. I'm impatient. Also, the most important stat of it all, 1% crit resist. We'll talk more about that later. Then we have Agility. Boasts some of the best stats you can hope for out of a skill, giving you 1% melee resist, 5% chance to dodge. Your ability to climb, leap, and jump is all increased by 3%. Following up, we move on to the most important stats of the game. What? We aren't talking about those other stats. We don't care about those. Fine. Let's talk about some mental stats. Leadership gives you some more morale for your team on the field, which means that more of your team can go down before they may feel the need to flee from the battlefield. It's a perk. Of course, with a game like this, you may never want to have that part of the stat be helpful, so don't worry about that one. It also gives you courage, meaning you are 3% less likely to be scared of being alone, or fearful, or even terrified. It's a good stat to have for this, as once fear and terror hits, you are rolling every turn until you pass it. You do not want Mordheim to roll those dice for you if you are anywhere under 50%. Trust me, the character might as well be off the field if they are. Intelligence. This stat is for casters. Or you want 9 points so you can train to be a little faster. That's it. Okay. It increases your spell damage by 3%, magic resist by 1%, stun resist by 2%, and the chance to pass stupidity and other mental afflictions by 3%. Alertness. It makes you go sooner on the turn and makes you more perceptive. With 2 more initiative, 1% range resist, and a pass perception checks 3% more. Now onto the stats you really want to see when leveling up. Martial skills. Starting with weapon skill. Melee resist by 1%, chance to hit by 2%. Only in melee, of course, and parry chance by 4%. Ranged skill. Range damage by 3% and ranged hit chance by 2%. Finally, we follow up with accuracy, a beautiful stat that you should probably level after you've leveled one of the first 2, giving you a 1% more chance to crit and also 1% more crit damage. It also reduces an opponent's chance to dodge by 2%, though that is not a reason alone to try and stack accuracy. Now on to the rest of the stats on that sheet. Starting way back at the top, we have our level, our current XP to our level up amount for the next level, 10 being the max level. We also have our warrior rating. This is mostly just important for getting into your story missions, as they will compare the two. Then we have our offensive points in red and our strategic points in blue. Those are our amounts of actions you can take for attacking or buffing in red, while our movement and evasive type moves are in blue. Then we have our damage reduction. This is for attacks in melee or ranged. Unfortunately, this does not help you with magic. Then the damage that we will be doing with our range or melee damage. Then we have our crit chance, which will be talked about later as we get down into more of the stats. And finally, our health. Weird it's at the end, but there it is. Now back down at the bottom here, we have our first stat, which is movement. This stat is how many meters your character will move per strategic point when it is their turn. Next to that, we have initiative, which the higher this is, it's the sooner you go in the turn. Following up with morale impact, and this number is how much morale damage you will do to your team when you fall out of combat with that particular character. Followed by the morale that they in fact bring to the battle, with this being even to morale impact will make it so if they fall out of combat, they're not losing too much. Though the stat's not ultimately that important, as losing any character is always very dangerous in this game. We have a dodge percent chance, and next to it, parry percent chance. These are your chance to parry or dodge if you use the skill to dodge or parry the melee attack that will be launched at you. Finally, we look down at resistances. Starting with poison and magic, these are the effects you might just see. The higher it is, the better your resist is, though I would not push many points into these resistances. If they happen, they happen. Following up, we have a very powerful stat here, which is melee resistance. This will reduce a chance for any melee attack launched against you to straight up miss, not eating up your dodge or your parry or what have you. Next, we have range, the same thing, though never look into this stat as the AI never really pushes range resistance all that high. Next, we have one of the best stats you can ever hope for, especially in a PvE scenario, that is crit hit resistance. Now, the beautiful thing about crit hit is this is actually a comparison of 1-to-1. If they have a 10% chance to crit and you have a 10% critical hit resistance, they will have 0% chance to crit, barring any specific skills that might improve that on that specific action. Next, we have stun resist, another very useful stat, though the best way to get a higher stun resist is usually just to wear a helmet and also to hope you never actually get hit by a crit. Following up, we have wordstone resistance, a fun stat that sometimes can help you, though not worth stacking in any sort of idea. Then we have trap resistance, another stat to ignore. And the final three, which are very important, especially in those earlier stages when it's lower, you have all alone, fear, and terror. All alone is a stat for when you are fighting more enemies than you have allies. causing you at the start of your turn to roll if they are going to take their turn or try to flee if possible. If they cannot flee, they will in fact throw away all of their points and do nothing. Fear is a stat that will reduce your chance to hit in melee by 30%. How lovely! Then we have Terror. This stat is unbelievably bad to not resist, as you will lose many of your offensive and strategic points until you pass that check. And especially in the early game, when you have very, very few, this is heavily detrimental to the point of some of your characters being unable to do anything. So that is a lot of information to take in and look at. But the main important thing to know here is higher is better, lower is bad. So you have your warband, and you have your stats, and you want to get into a mission and really play the loop of the game. However, before you just click on any old mission, there's a few things you should know. There are a handful of mission starts that you can see when choosing your day-to-day missions, such as starting next to your card or being spread out from your card. These are safe starts and give you control on how to engage most fights. Now for other potential missions, you can also be caught in a building, exploring, which is basically a card start with just a few levels of difference between the character, or they can be spread out if you choose. It's another safe choice. Now onto the starts you would rather not get. There is the Scared start, where you are randomly thrown about the map. This is possibly the worst start you can have because there are times you have slower characters that have no hope to reach the fight by the time it is over, while also putting your archer directly next to the enemy's start location. It's best to avoid this if you can. The last start is only slightly second to Scared in my opinion. And what start is that? Well, that is the strike teams. You split your warband into groups of 3, 3, and 4, given the amount of units you have fielded. Why is this start bad? Well, the game plays in a way that being outnumbered will often end badly. And when the AI usually will run straight towards their closest target, it means you are going to have a group of 3 or 4 that is about to meet a whole lot of opponents, and you are better off hoping that your other 2 groups can reach them and sway the tide of battle before one of them gets taken down. It's great! Now, do keep in mind that these starts are mixed up and will have 2 potential starts, one for you and one for the AI. And boy oh boy, if one of those 2 starts are not what you want, then you better stay clear because they love to give you the bad ones. So you've seen your mission and you're gonna click it, but one more thing to look at. Difficulties. Going into these missions is fine, but another layer to keep in mind is the difficulty they say. Each of these difficulties will give the opponent increasing stats based on it, so choose wisely. You've got your normal, hard, brutal, and deadly choices. Normal and hard are okay as they increase values are low enough that they can be interchangeable. Brutal and deadly, well, get ready to have a bad time if they get a hold of your units. They get increased damage of 30% or more, and also their total health. You better take some down from range or prepare to have some butt-clenching moments. So you can handle the increased damage and health just fine. However, there is one more layer to brutal and deadly that the game hopes you won't consider until it happens to you. Ambushes. When taking these missions, there is a chance on each and every mission that they can ambush you. These lovely little missions have 4 potential starts. You can catch them about to ambush you, and you run into a building, and they surround you. Don't catch them, and they get to catch your team in the street and completely exposed. Or those missions in reverse, that you are the one ambushing them. However, I must state that this can be bad no matter which way the mission goes. Because when you are surrounded or surrounding them, they still roll the initiative on who goes first for the first turn. Which means that your slow team may still have themselves stuck trying to dodge their attacks. Or even worse, is that you have many archers and they move faster, giving them the advantage of a closed distance. So ambushes, they suck to see. Try not to get them if you can help it. Now outside of the bad, there are some good things to do. When on a mission, it isn't only bashing heads, it's looting and looking at the left side of the screen to find out what the game wants you to do for extra rewards and experience. These missions are pretty basic, with only 3 they have to be. We have the Looting Wordstone mission, which is always a safe choice as you have the best control over that mission. There is the Hunting mission, which wants you to take down and loot specific enemies for their trinkets, which can be taken from you when the AI somehow manages to get them stuck in a building, which will often happen to be the last one you are looking for. And finally, the worst one, stealing the totem from the enemy cart and bringing it back to yours. This mission is very, very rare to win, as the AI will not let that happen. Not through strategy, of course. They just happen to always be routed well before you get a unit to their cart and back, so if you see that mission, don't take it. Finally, the part you are really here to see, the gameplay loop. The fighting, destroying, and looting. The stuff that has been going on in the background for most of this video already. So you chose your map and you're ready to go. Well, the first thing you are going to notice is that you can choose to launch the mission or to launch and deploy. In most every scenario, you should choose to deploy because that gives you so much more option on how to approach the coming mission. Once you load in, you're going to see a bunch of blue pillars and wherever they put you on the map in the first place. Ignore that and press your map button, which is shift by default. Now you are seeing a full overview of the map and where all your spawn locations can be, as well as where your cart and the enemy cart are located. Also the enemy warband's type if you look closely, as well as where all the loot will be located, wordstone and random chests included. The main thing to keep in mind is that the enemy will always move towards any wordstone spawns until they spot at least one member of your warband on the map, so keep that in mind when planning. The main thing when placing your units is to put your lowest strategic point characters up front so that they have a better chance of being with your team when you reach the battle or the loot. That includes archers as well. Typically you're going to want to put those in front, except in the few cases where the enemy team is directly next to you and can attack you on the first turn. So you already know to press shift to look at the map and to get an idea where to go. The next important thing to note is that on a map you can see where a unit is located, even the enemy after spotting them. If you lose track of them, you will have a last known location marker to get a general idea of where they might be. Now the main thing to keep in mind when moving through the map is how you're going to get to loot and thinking if the enemy will get there first. If they will, this is no problem. Just let them loot all the wordstone for you. Turns out, enemies are more than willing to give you the wordstone when you knock them out cold. Another important thing to note is that if the icon is in a building, then it can be on any level. That leads us to an important skill, Perception. This is the chance that the skill that takes 1 SP to give you a buff for the rest of that turn, where you can spot and highlight any loot, traps, or enemies, even if they are around a corner or through a wall, even up floors. So you just use that skill and fail. Then you use it again, hopefully succeeding this time. Then using your remaining points to make your plans to move. Just a reminder that loot and chests in the wordstone spawns get better as your warband levels up. So don't think that all loot and chests will be basic gear, just give it time, and utilize those traps you find, as you and the enemy can both walk over them, so be sure to let them take the debuff and waste their movement on it. Just try not to walk over them yourself. Wordstone is the name of the game, but keep in mind that every wordstone you loot is a chance to pass or fail a check, which can then be a positive or negative buff. More likely negative, but sometimes you get lucky. These can be reduced main stats, reduced movement, armor, or even less chance to parry or dodge. These can also be the same thing, but in the positive. Just don't rely on that happening. These debuffs last for 3 turns, including the turn you are currently finishing. Wait, now before you start rushing into your plans, see those bars at the top left? Those are the morale bars. The top number is how much morale you currently have on the mission. The bottom number you see is how much you need to fall under in order for your team to attempt to rout. This goes for both you and the opponent. Now this is Mordheim, and you don't just leave when under that value, you roll for it. So the team routing may bounce back and ignore being under the value and keep fighting, which means This system does one thing. It makes it so the AI can try to eke out one extra round against your team and take one of them out before they have to roll for it again. For you, well, you hope to never see that lovely morale bar go down at all, so don't worry about it. If it is low enough that your team routs, then routing is the least of your concern, and you would rather be away from that mission. In the rare chance it is a nail biter and you are both about to rout, well, get ready to fail your roll, as the opponent will succeed theirs. Because they will. They always do. When choosing how to move, you will see a blue circle around your character. You can move anywhere within that circle. Until you touch the outside circle, you will not use any more SP. Also, if you make an incorrect move, you can always return to any previous point and get the points back. This is very abusable by your character to move around corners or go upstairs, as height does not affect the size of the circle. Just be careful not to get yourself stuck upstairs and be unable to make it back down in case you regret going up there. Any looting or attacking will lock in the points you have used already. So you can't reach the enemy, and you want to get a little more distance or set an ambush for them. There are skills for that. Ambush and charge will both give you the range based on your character's movement to dash into combat on your turn or end your turn and cover a range to attack the first enemy that enters it. If you are unsure how far you can charge, you can just choose ambush to see the range and then cancel it. Seeing a blue node on the map when moving around will mean you can climb, leap, or jump down from a position. Now these are also a check, so when the fail happens, you will get a bonus 10% chance to succeed on any subsequent attempts, though that bonus does not stack. If they fail more after that, then you just have to keep trying, and you will run into this more often than you think. Now when a mission is over, you get a bunch of extra loot based on the difficulty of a mission and how many of your units are still alive at the end. So it is a 4% of the remaining loot per character alive on normal, going up by 1% per difficulty. So if you've got all 10 alive at the end, it's a 40, 50, 60, and 70% of the remaining loot on the way out, for free. So a unit alive is a potential extra piece of loot. So now you're home, and a person may or may not have gotten crit in the face, or got a case of the 0 health. If they happen to fall in combat, they are going to have to check for injury, which can be many things. The ones you want to worry about are the loss of an arm or a maimed hand. There is also death. But you don't have much choice on what you choose after that happens. The main point is that you have to pay to get the injury treated. For being crit, you only have a light wound that is never permanent and takes one missed mission to heal. Other injuries are permanent and will take multiple days, up to 5 days, compared to light wounds, which is 2. So you got the wound treated. Now they all wish to be paid for their efforts. This amount ranges from class and level, so bringing higher level characters means you're going to pay more. That might sound scary, but the amount of money you should have should not worry you. Always bring your high level characters together and have a second team for lower level fights. After paying and healing your characters, you now have to choose where to put their new points. Each notch in the character's XP bar signifies when they will get another point to place. This can be one of 3 major areas, allowing you to put 1 point into one of the 3 choices under those areas. So make a plan early and stick to it. Leveling back and forth is usually not the best way to build a character. The main story of this game is very light, each warband getting their own reasons to visit each of the 8 story-specific maps, these being the Quayside, the Library, the Bridge, the Temple, the Barracks, the Manticore Playground, the Pillars of Doom, and the Seductress Fort. These missions are cut into 2 acts and are given in different orders per faction basis, with DLC having the most changed enemies or missions to do while at these maps. Overall stories are nothing much and involve getting books or weapons. Now these missions are nice for giving you a cool boss level unit that will follow you through them all and gets more powerful in each mission. Not much to say about them, as you will know them long before you get to your first mission. They kind of talk to you each mission you take. So our main goal is to focus on collecting Wordstone as much as we can, as our patron will keep asking for us to deliver it to them. Each ask from them will get higher and higher, so be sure to stock up and don't give it all away. Sadly, that is all there truly is as far as the story goes. It's light, but story-wise, it is all fine, though a tad bit grindy between missions, given how there are only 8. So if you don't like the basic gameplay loop, then don't expect those missions to save your enjoyment of the game. They are the cherry on top. Now the last important part is that there is a shop, a great place to sell all that junk you've been stealing and hoarding, so be sure to check up on it, as sometimes they can sell some great pieces of gear or even give you some armor upgrades. And armor is the hardest part to come by, so always look when it updates. That's about all there is to say about Mordheim. Is it a great game? Why yes, it is a great game. If you like to grow your warband and try to get them to max level and smash them against similarly powered groups. There is the danger of death or injury when a unit goes down, while knowing the AI groups don't have to face this punishment. However, the game is a ton of fun and worth a look. Sadly, the multiplayer is pretty much gone at this point, as it is a very old game, though I didn't want to play that anyway. So if you haven't played the game yet, which would be weird as I'm sure only Mordheim watchers are going to see this video, then I would look for it when it is on sale, and have a great time with it. It is a game I truly love, and I found it myself through random chance on Steam. So thanks, Steam. I'm not getting those hours back. Thank you guys for sticking through to the end and enjoying my review / description, or whatever this was, of this fantastic game. There is so much more of this game I can talk about and give more insight on, including strategies and crazy ways to play. I've even uploaded full campaigns of said challenges I have done. So if you want to see more, then please let me know in the comments and subscribe, as that will give me the picture that you would want to see more reviews on games or more Mordheim videos. Have a great day, and as always, stay majestic.